Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about Eros in the 7th house in a natal chart. Now, Eros in astrology can be connected with that energy that we have a very powerful, near inordinate sexual attraction to. It could be very near unconquerable sexual attraction. And the thing about this is, even if we're incompatible with others and this person in other ways based on our astrological charts, we still might have that strong sexual attraction toward this kind of a person. And since we're talking about houses in this case, houses, it's more about that sector of life, that kind of person we might have that sexual attraction to, but it doesn't mean it won't have any characteristics associated with it necessarily, because the 7th house does correspond with the zodiac sign Libra, and there may be Libra-like undercurrents with this. Now, the thing about this is, since we're talking about the 7th house, this could be where you have that very near unconquerable sexual attraction to it. It might be a marriage partner in some cases, since it is the 7th house, which would actually be very beneficial. It could be the significant other. In some cases, it might be an open adversary, though this could be this could be very isolated. Maybe in some cases, maybe someone becomes your open adversary due to sexual frustration, maybe because you have such an unconquerable sexual attraction to this person, but of course that could be very isolated. It could be somebody that you might be involved in some competition with, whether it might be business or sports. I mean, if it's Sagittarius, it might be something sports related. Capricorn, it might be business related, and it might be somebody that might have some Libra-like undercurrents, such as being very diplomatic and someone relationship oriented. It might be somebody that might be in a 7th house profession, such as a legal field or an arbitration or something connected with negotiation or working as a diplomat. Something that could be a 7th, or some law profession, something that could be 7th house related. Now, in some cases, given that this is the 7th house, and again, it does correspond with Libra, it could be a Libra sun, moon, or ascendant in some cases, or it may embody somebody that embodies Libra characteristics, such as being very equitable, being very fair, open-minded, relationship-oriented. It might be somebody that might be rather popular as well, since we're talking about the 7th house of relationships. Now, as far as like your sign, your Eros sign goes, I mean, if your Eros is conjunct that other person's ascendant, it could reaffirm or reinforce a physical connection. If it's the moon, it may be more on an unconscious or subconscious level. If your Eros conjuncts another person's sun, it could be more tied in with the basic character and the physical element to some degree, because the sun can be connected with the physical body, though the ascendant is what dominates the appearance astrologically. Now, also, too, keep in mind that Eros energy in astrology, I mean, it can reflect what you might strongly be infatuated with or enamored by, but in some cases it could also be about what might turn you off exceptionally, or be rebuffed by, or just flat out repudiate or reject. And given that this is the 7th house, it might be if this person is somebody that's overly competitive or compromising or overly popular or very relationship oriented, it may be somebody that might not really tickle your fancy, so to speak, and it might be somebody that might be very marriage oriented. Now, and the thing about it is, I mean, if you've got energy in your chart which indicates, well, you don't necessarily want to be pinned down, and if you've got Gemini sun, moon, or ascendant, or even Sagittarius sun, moon, or ascendant, I mean, those signs could be rather flighty, and Gemini is very mercurial. Gemini does not really want to be pinned down more on a mental level, and Sagittarius more so on a physical level. Sagittarius can be the meander of the zodiac, and Gemini can be very mobile, but they don't really want that commitment on a mental level. So a lot of this energy, how it manifests, could be predicated a lot on your other elements in your natal chart. Now, another thing that might strongly rebuff or turn you off having Eros in the 7th house of your natal chart could be somebody that acquiesces too easily, somebody that's overly compromising, or somebody that's constantly looking at some kind of legal element or aspect in things, and those kind of things might be such where you might be rebuffed by in some cases. Now, also, too, Eros in astrology can be associated with our creative energy and ability. And since we're talking about that, the 7th house in astrology, it could be more tied in with those kind of people that might, in the area, that sector of life where this energy is injected into. Now, you might show a lot of creative prowess, perhaps with others, through collaborating with others on projects. I mean, if you have this, like, say, in Aquarius, you might be making things with somebody else, perhaps through electronics, whether it's some kind of household robots or something computer related. It could be designing some kind of computer software. This creative energy may also be injected in a partnership situation. Say if you're in a business partnership, especially if you have this in a sign like Capricorn, which is very business savvy. It could be somebody that puts a lot of this creative energy in a business partnership or something Capricorn related. That's a business partnership such as dentistry or accounting or what have you, something that can be connected with Capricorn architecture. Now, another thing too is it could also be where this creative energy may be injected in your dealings with open adversaries. And say if you are a lawyer, you're in a legal situation, you might be a person, this could actually be very good for people that are involved as a lawyer, for example, because you can inject that creative energy perhaps in trial situations. I mean, say if you have this in Gemini, it could be by outmaneuvering the opposition, use a little trickeration, so to speak, like telling the person that's opposing you in this in that trial, is this photograph? Are you sure this is the photograph of that person you saw? And the person says, well, yeah, and it'd be like, no, that's a fake photo. That photograph is not that person. It was not the person that I was describing. So you understand what I'm saying. It's a little Gemini energy can be very much about trickeration. So. That's a very isolated example, and I'm just throwing that out there arbitrarily. So the thing about that is another thing too is that creative energy might be shared with a marriage partner, a significant other, and even in matters with compromises and making some kind of agreement with others as well. And perhaps even that creative energy might be expressed with a grandmother in some cases. Well, anyway, Eros in astrology can also be associated with what one may have a very powerful exuberance and enthusiasm for. Now, the thing about this is, since we're talking about the 7th house, a sector of life, this could be done perhaps through collaborating with others on a project. It could even be through some kind of legal matter. Even in arbitration in some cases. Say if this is in Sagittarius, it might be through matters pertaining to sports arbitration, where you might show very powerful exuberance and enthusiasm for. And even like, say, Sagittarius again, as an example, it might be through matters with sports competition, where you can show that very inordinate passion, exuberance, and enthusiasm, and also matters with a grandmother in some cases. Now, and say if this is in Pisces, as another example, that could be done maybe through some abstract art, because 7th house can be associated with art because it does correspond with the zodiac sign Libra. In Aquarius, it might be through some very oblique or some very unorthodox or unconventional artwork. It might be drawings maybe that are very futuristic. It could, and now as far as an aspect example, I'll give you a real basic one. I mean, just say if your Eros is in the 7th house in your natal chart, and let's say that makes a conjunction to your natal Juno. Well, this could reinforce a propensity to be so connected with a person on a sexual level that you may actually married. So those are, so anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.